All right, it looks like everybody's settled in. So let's get started. We have a really exciting presentation for everybody today. So once again, welcome. Today we'll be discussing Lincoln Tech's student electronic documentation strategy. My name is Christine, and I am the marketing manager here at Accelerated. And I'm very excited today to be joined by Val Thomas, Senior Vice President and CIO at Lincoln Tech. I'm going to be passing things over to him shortly for the main part of today's presentation. But in the meantime, let's just go over a few announcements and housekeeping items. Like I said, before we get started, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items on how to participate in today's event. Here you can see we've taken a screenshot of the GoToWebinar attendee interface. We encourage all attendees to submit questions by typing them into the questions panel, which you can see here highlighted in the red rectangle. You may send your questions in at any time during the presentation. We will collect your questions and address them at the end during the Q&A section. You may also use the chat panel to share your thoughts and comments as we make our way through today's presentation. So let's take a look at the agenda. First, we'll take a look at the AIS Help Center overview. We'll get a look at some upcoming Laserfiche webinars and trainings, as well as some other announcements. We'll take a look at some Laserfiche Empower 2024 updates. And then we'll get into the main part of our presentation today, which is Lincoln Tech's electronic documentation strategy. We'll start by going over Lincoln Tech's story. We'll take a look at some of the unique challenges that there are for a nationwide campus, how they looked into building a student-centric approach to the solution, and then looking ahead what they have planned for the future. And then we'll, of course, close out with a Q&A session, so make sure you're submitting those questions and have them ready. Just a reminder that this session will be recorded and be sent out tomorrow in case you missed anything or you want to share it with your coworkers. Again, please feel free to submit questions at any time. All right, so let's take a look at the Help Center and resources. Here you can see a screenshot of the AIS Help Center. This is a great place to go if you ever need to open a support ticket with our team, if you're already on the phone with our team and need to start a remote connection, or if you need to add or replace an existing Laserfiche user, there's a great form right here that you can use to do that. You'll also see links to Laserfiche and accelerated resources such as Laserfiche Answers, as well as previous virtual user group recordings and more. Okay, so let's take a look at some upcoming Laserfiche webinars and trainings. Here are a few upcoming Laserfiche webinars. First, in October, we have an introduction to process automation features on Tuesday, October 24th. Then in November, we have Build a Seamless Integrated New Account Opening Solution. That's going to be on Tuesday, November 7th. And then finally, there is Dismantling the Dysfunction, Reinforcing Trust, Confidence, and Accuracy in Records Management, which will be on Thursday, November 9th. If you're interested in any of these webinars, please drop us a note in the comment box and we will share a link with you so you can get registered. And here are a few upcoming trainings that are available. Coming up tomorrow, there will be an Introduction to Quick Fields training. Then next week, we have Intermediate Forms Design on October 24th. And then coming up in November, we have Connecting Business Processes and Workflow on November 7th. And then on November 8th, there is Advanced Workflow Design. One final announcement I want to touch on is that Laserfiche is pleased to announce that it has achieved ISO IEC 27001 2022 certification for Information Security Management Systems, or ISMS. If you're not familiar, ISO 27001 is a comprehensive framework for information security management systems. It's recognized as an international standard for ISMS, ISO was recently upgraded in 2022 with notable changes, including a new structure for Annex A that includes 93 controls for over 4 categories, including organizational, people, physical, and technological. And as you can see on the screen, there is a QR code that you can use to go to see the full press release if you're interested in more information. All right, and now moving on for some Empower 2024 updates. So Laserfiche Empower is officially scheduled to take place on April 22nd to 25th, 2024 in Las Vegas. Join us, the Accelerated team, as well as Laserfiche experts, thought leaders, and thousands of other innovators in Las Vegas as we learn to harness the power of business process automation, leveraging artificial intelligence and no-code tools to help transform lives. And it's very exciting that it's in Las Vegas this year. And here's just a quick peek at the agenda. Empower 2024 will take place over 4 days, and it'll be packed with events including labs, breakout sessions, networking, and more. And this is just a quick overview of the agenda. There will be more information and more detailed agendas released soon. And here is some information on past pricing. In response to recent feedback, Laserfiche has decided to simplify their plan options for 2024 and offer just a single pass that includes all the sessions and labs instead of doing 2 separate passes. So keep your eye on your emails for more information from us, the Accelerated team, on how you can have chances to receive discounted Empower passes and just more general information on Empower passes as well. Also, make sure you check out the handout area here on GoToWebinar for a copy of the Empower 2024 info sheet with lots of information on what is going to be going on, as well as a fillable travel justification letter you can use to request travel from your organization. And this way you'll have plenty of time for that approval so you can get scheduled. So registration and early bird pricing do open up on November 1st. You can see here that there's a QR code again. You can follow that QR code to go to the Empower website. And just another reminder to check your emails for Empower announcements and updates as we get closer, and especially after November 1st, once registration opens. And please feel free to drop a question or comment here as well if you have any immediate questions about Empower. But now, without further delay, I'm going to pass things over to Val Thomas, Senior Vice President and CIO at Lincoln Tech, for today's presentation. Val, take it away.
So, next slide, please. Okay, as I was saying, good afternoon or good morning if you're on the West Coast. Those of you who are in the education space probably have a very similar mission statement to Lincoln's, and it's providing superior education and training for our students in a supportive learning environment to help them transform their lives and add value to communities. It's very, very important to Lincoln. We're a high-touch education institution. Next slide, please. We've been around for over 75 years, 22 campuses across 14 states, maybe 14,000 students now since this slide was out there. And we're looking to prepare students for successful careers in what we consider essential fields, trade skills. My one sentence speech is, students come to Lincoln Tech to learn the fine art to, excuse me, that flustered me, all screwing up there. Students come to Lincoln Tech to get a job. That's why they're coming to us. They want to get a job. They don't want to learn the fine art of welding. And a lot of these students may have, they're not the students that are going to make it at regular university. They're smart people, and they're not stupid in any way, shape, or form, but it's just a matter of a different type of student. Many of them may be the first student who ever went to school after going to high school in their family. And they come from different backgrounds, various diverse backgrounds. 50% of our students are adult learners, not necessarily high school, and so they have their own difficulties. difficulties. And so we do everything we possibly can do to help them get through the difficult parts of school so they can focus on what they came for, to get their hands dirty changing brakes or working on engines or working in culinary arts or working in LPM learning RN or all kinds of trade skills, HVAC, welding, whatever it might be. Next slide, please. Next. So we're nationwide. And we have, again, 22 campuses, soon to be 23. We're about to open our Atlanta campus up. Each of these campuses previously tracked the documents using anything you can think of, from whiteboards to pieces of paper to Excel spreadsheets to whatever it was. And our student information system, Anthology Student, also called Campus View, also called Campus Student Nexus, depending upon what year it is. So it was all over the place as far as the students being tracked and how we were making sure that all the different documents were in place. Each of the states they're in have different regulations. Each of the programs they're in have different documentation needs. Nursing needs far more documentation to start a student than welding does. Next slide, please. So with this challenge, we wanted to simplify the document management from admissions all the way through graduation and jobs placement. Every single department has their different kinds of documents they want the student to fill out. We want to streamline this, not only for faculty and staff, but for the students themselves. The last thing they want to be doing is filling out their name 14 times on 14 different pieces of paper. We want to make it easy for collection, easy for tracking this, to make sure that we've gotten all the students that are required, all the documents required for a student to start. And then good reports on this too, so we can see this at a glance that all these different students are ready to start or ready to graduate or have gotten the right thing in there. Eliminating paper storage, I'll never say paperless, but it has gone a long, long way to getting rid of file cabinets out there in the schools. And then one virtual secure file folder for all students at all campuses. And I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. Next slide, please. Next, thank you. So we began with career services, which was at the tail end of the student life cycle. Why? Because actually they were the simplest thing, and the students have been established, and they're just about to graduate. And career services had their processes already down. If you're going to do this, my biggest suggestion again is to see what department could you do this for, easiest and simplest. Not necessarily which one's going to have the most impact, because admissions financial aid obviously has a lot of impact there, but they also might be your most difficult. So with career services, we started doing things like 30 days before graduation, automated emails would go out and texts to the students saying, hey, you're about to graduate. We need you to have to fill out this form or that form, or have you thought about your resume, what jobs and things like that. And we started having these things filled out. We integrated tightly with something called document tracking in Anthology Student. Think of any ERP. It's the brains of what's going on here. It's what's triggering things. Laserfiche itself doesn't know when a student's going to graduate. Anthology does. And so having those two tied together and coupling it with Laserfiche made it so that we could turn around and trigger these different things. Let Laserfiche handle the document collection. Let Laserfiche handle a lot of the communications that are going on, but have it all controlled by Anthology. And then again, making all these documents that you could view them and they could see the status from the student portal. This is important for the students themselves to see what's going on. We had a big focus on communications. Texting is the way to reach our students, period. But there's emails there, and of course, they can go through the portal too. And then we took this opportunity to review and streamline a lot of forms. 22 campuses, and what you might think would be common forms were duplicated in various ways across those campuses. We retired a lot of duplicates and outdated forms. Like, why are we even asking for this form? Because we always have, we don't need it anymore. We took multiple forms and condensed them into a single dynamic form. Is this for the student? Is this for the parent? Is this for an underage student, by underage, under 18, or is this for an adult student? You might be at, and so these were single forms that used to be 5 or 6 different pieces of paper. And then, of course, we pre-populated a lot of the information from our SIS data, name, address, whatever it might be in there. In certain cases, the student can change it, in student cases they couldn't. But a lot of work was done up front on all of this type of stuff, and is still going on today as we migrate some of the last forms into the system. Next slide, please. So, oh, no, stop, go back. Okay, perfect. This is a little bit dynamic. This is kind of how it works with it here. A form becomes requested in Campus Nexus or Anthology or in your ERP system, whatever you have. And it's either by an automated trigger. For instance, a student is 2 weeks from starting, or a student is 1 month from graduation, or a person can go in and manually enter an activity. And so what happens is the campus view status becomes, we requested this document. This is good for tracking. Next, please. So then a task is created in Laserfiche. Laserfiche then sends texts and emails to the student or the parent or the employer or whoever it needs to go to for completion. And that status is still requested. We requested this document from whoever, let's say the student or writer. Next, please. When they complete the form, and by the way, they'll get a text, they can click on that link inside the text and complete that form on their phone if they want to. When they complete that form, the form is assigned back to an LTI person for review or approval. Certain forms aren't required at all, and some forms even require additional approval from the directors or campus presidents, especially some of the nursing forms, right? But at this point, we say, hey, we've received it back, we'll change our status to received. Next. We might reject the form. They might have filled something out wrong or it's not enough information. And then we'll resubmit it back to the first task, and then Laserfiche takes over again and sends it out again, along with some of the comments that we put in there saying, hey, you didn't quite fill out your name correctly, or that's not enough information here. We've changed our status inside our ERP to resubmit. Next. Or approved. Then we turn around and we'll save them to the repository. Now they're kind of being saved all along here, but now they've been finalized. We'll push it to the repository, and we've changed our status to approved. So now we can start running reports on, okay, we've got a start coming up in a few weeks. All this 60% of the students have filled out their documents, and these 20% we've requested and 20% we've received, but we haven't reviewed them yet. And a couple percent have been resubmitted because they were wrong. And we can see this, the campus presidents can see all that and know what they have out there and who they need to call. Next, please. We added a status called voided because sometimes you'll get a form back that you no longer need. It may be invalid, not compliant, whatever it might be. We don't want to delete it. We don't want to reject it. So we just added that status there. And then the final button, please, on this slide. And then once they're all finalized, approved, voided, whatever, they're saved in the student repository, and they can go be looked at by the people with the appropriate permissions. Next slide, please. FERPA, for those who know, is one big example here. This is part of our training, but FERPA forms are funny forms. A student could fill out a FERPA form all day long, 10 times a day if they wanted to. It's their right. And the one they filled out last is the one that counts. Next slide. And it's also a complex form. They could say, I want to share my grades with my parents, but not my financial information, or vice versa, or none of the above, or all of the above. So it was a I bring this one up because it was a very dynamic form. One that is filled out, could be filled out many times. They don't necessarily do that. One where they can change their mind. One where all aspects of Lincoln need to understand what the FERPA status is. Financial aid needs to know, admissions needs to know, education needs to know, the business office needs to know, the campus president needs to know. And so all this information, this is one where we were leveraging everything within Laserfiche, tight coupling with our system, our student information system, Campus View, and able to take all that information, all these different form fields, and push that to the proper places within Campus View so that people can see what to do. Next slide. So what do we get out of this? So far, we've done campus career services, we've done education, we've done our business office, and we have really simplified student documentation tasks. They're not filling out documents. We're making sure we're completing them on time. That third bullet point, I could put thousands of hours. I may be too low. We've saved so many hours of administrative overhead by not gathering paper forms and either scanning them in or entering the data or whatever it might be. We've centralized access from 22 different locations into one single digital place, securely set up with granular campus-specific security controls. So if I need my regulatory department to see it, they can see everything. The campus president can see what the campus president can see. Admissions only sees admissions documents. Financial aid only sees financial aid documents. Education, we've got FERPA compliance, HIPAA, PII. Everything is compliant in there. Everything is tightly controlled. If an auditor comes in from the outside, we don't have to go searching in paper files to find out where that enrollment agreement is for a student. We can pull it right from one centralized area. You can just imagine how much more efficient this is. Next. So what do we got next? Right now, we're taking all the historical data from our previous imaging system, and it's a big one. You've heard of it. About 3 million documents, but actually, it's only going to be about 1 million documents at this time. We've decided to not worry about things over 8 years old. We have a number of applications that collect their own information. Our enrollment portal is highly, highly customized. And this is a case where I might be able to do it in Laserfiche, but in our case, it's so tightly coupled and it works that we're taking the end result from there and we're pushing that into Laserfiche. But the processing and everything belongs to that portal. We have some things we're working on with legal and also staff accreditation. Does this instructor have all the certifications they need and are they up to date? Things like that are kind of our next steps. And one more, I think.
Yeah, I think that was pretty much it for you, Val. Were there any final things you wanted to say before we move into questions?
Well, I will say this. AIS was a very, very strong partner on this entire project for us. Highly recommended, understood where we're coming from, gave us solutions, and got it done. There was a lot I talked about here. We did this over the past 2 years. And we were the bottleneck, not AIS. So I want to leave you all with that. Laserfiche is a good system. It works very, very well. But it's only as good as the people who put it in place.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And thank you for all your patience. Please feel free to take the survey after you close out of today's webinar. And again, if you have any questions at the end or after this webinar, please feel free to shoot us an email. I want to once again thank Val so much for joining us and taking the time to present with us today. We hope this was of interest, and please let us know if you have any questions, and keep an eye on your email for tomorrow for a copy of today's presentation. Thanks, everyone.